杨澜访谈录。
本栏目由一汽大众奥迪品牌联合呈现播出。
他是被称为世界的 CEO 的联合国掌门人。
It is described as the most difficult job on earth to be the Secretary General of the UN. Why do you still have to take it?
他的标签是谦恭的微笑、温和的身体语言和低调的行事方式，但这也使得媒体从未停止质疑他的声音。
When I see something is against the principle which I believe in, and then I really raise my voice and pound the table.
杨澜专访联合国秘书长潘基文，我以乐观的精神去改变世界，敬请收看。
大家好，欢迎收看杨澜访谈录。2012年7月17日，联合国秘书长潘基文在经历了14小时的长途飞行之后，一到北京参加的第一项活动就是与联合国官方微博的粉丝们在线互动。以往呢，在普通人的心目当中，联合国秘书长的工作具有相当的神秘性，似乎呢，他只在封闭的办公室里与各国的政要探讨国际的大事。然而这一次，很显然的，潘基文秘书长也希望借助与日俱增的社交媒体的影响力，来增强与普通民众的交流。在回答网友的问题的同时，他也接受了杨澜访谈录的专访。
7月18日。国家主席胡锦涛会见来华进行正式访问并出席中非合作论坛会议的联合国秘书长潘基文，这也是潘基文在第2次连任联合国秘书长之后的首次访华。在会谈中，潘基文赞扬中国为维护世界和平、促进共同发展发挥了重要作用，而联合国也感谢中国积极参与联合国维和行动，为推动实现联合国1000年发展目标、促进全球可持续发展中做出的重大贡献。
You are in Beijing this time to participate in the China-Africa Cooperation Forum. What are the messages you are bringing to the leaders from Africa?
China has been taking very important initiatives in helping African people and countries to strengthen their capacity to address many difficult challenges.
中非人民对中非关系发展的殷切期待，都要求我们以高度的责任感和使命感，适应新形势，提出新目标，努力开创中非新型战略伙伴关系新局面。
This is a great example of South-South cooperation. It is not only North-South cooperation, but now China has been a leading champion in promoting South-South cooperation as number 2 world economies. And with the great economic stride and socio-economic development and political maturity, it is good that China shares her experience and technologies and know-how with many African people. This is a core purpose. And as the Secretary General of the United Nations, I will deliver my own message to not only African people, but many developing world who are looking to such Chinese cooperation. I really count on Chinese continuing support, working together with the United Nations.
就在潘基文访华的前几天，叙利亚中部哈马地区再次发生暴力冲突事件，造成大量平民伤亡。中国外交部发言人也在14日表示，中方强烈谴责任何残害无辜平民的行为。尽管联合国安理会一直努力在推进安南提出的解决叙利亚问题的6点建议，但几个月来，叙利亚的暴力流血事件依然不断升级。潘基文也多次发表声明，强烈谴责暴力行为，并呼吁安理会成员国采取果断行动。如何有效解决叙利亚问题，考验着联合国安理会维护世界和平的行动能力。
Facing the worsening situation in Syria, do you still believe that the 6-point plan can be implemented?
First of all, the bloodshed must stop by both sides. We should not allow any such valuable life to be victimized. I'm deeply concerned, and sometimes I cannot sleep when I think of so many people being killed every day. Even today and yesterday, 100 and 200 people have been killed.
That's right.
This must stop at any cost, so that the Syrian people can commence immediately their political dialogue for political resolution of this issue, reflecting the genuine aspiration and genuine needs of people to stop this bloodshed. I'm ready to do whatever I can as a Secretary General of the United Nations to resolve this issue as soon as possible.
But it seems people have different opinions on this issue, and there is a fine line between, for example, the humanitarian protection versus the interference of internal affairs to some people's minds, and also the responsibility to protect versus to protect with the responsibility. And how would you balance that?
One fundamental principle is in resolving this issue is that that should be led by Syrian people. This process should be owned by Syrian people. There will be no such foreign external interference. And that's one fundamental principle.
潘基文是联合国历史上第2位来自亚洲的联合国秘书长。自2006年他接替科菲安南成为第8位联合国秘书长以来，至今已是他的第2个任期。在充满变化和不确定的当今世界，联合国秘书长这个职务既要善于协调大国与小国、发展中国家与发达国家的关系，又要在错综复杂的利益和主张之中寻找交集和妥协点。执掌联合国这一世界上最大的多边权力机构，可谓困难重重。
It is described as the most difficult job on earth to be the Secretary General of the UN, with the developed countries shouting at one ear and with the developing countries shouting at the other. How difficult is it actually, and why do you still want to do it?
As a public servant, I have been working very hard. So whether it is a difficult or more difficult, that's not the big problem for me, because I'm committed to work. The more difficult thing is that when I'm not able, or United Nations is not able to properly and correctly understood by other people. When some terrorists or some radicals, they attack the United Nations, or killing peacekeepers, or abducting humanitarian workers. This really saddens me. They simply do not understand what and why United Nations is there. I have had during the last 10 days 192 events, including 120 bilateral meetings with the head of state, head of governments, and foreign ministers.
How many hours do you have to work every day, may I ask?
So sometimes I sleep very little. Sometimes you have to sleep 2 hours or 3 hours, but normally I try to sleep 4 to 5 hours a day. But there has been no such weekends for me. So
And no time for hobbies?
No time, no hobby. It's very difficult to find some time for a hobby. But whenever I'm free, even few hours, I try to, and also practice some calligraphy. Calligraphy.
How does that help you in calming down? Or?
That really helps for your mind and for your body. And that really make you concentrate and focus. That makes your mind peaceful. You don't think about the other things, but to concentrate. I often think that the calligraphy and the diplomacy have some common feature. When you see a beautiful calligraphic art, you don't appreciate how much time and exertion of effort have been spent there. You just appreciate the beautiful
result
work without knowing how much time and energy has been spent. When you hammer out these all difficult complicated political issues. A lot of things must have been done behind the scenes. It's not much visible, as I have been doing during the last 5.5 years, behind the scenes, and speaking with the world leaders. Then you will see peace and harmony, but people should appreciate more how much time and energy has been spent behind this peace.
潘基文1944年出生于韩国南部的一个小镇，1970年毕业于韩国汉城国立大学外交学专业，同年进入韩国外交部工作，开启了他36年的外交生涯。在学生时期，潘基文有幸获得美国红十字会邀请，与其他学生一起前往美国接受当时的美国总统肯尼迪的接见。这一经历改变了潘基文一生，使他从青年时代起就立志做一名外交官。而2011年，在他连任的就职演说中，潘基文引用老子的话，使人们看到了他深谙东方文化的另一面。
To renew my mandate, you have given the gift of time. The time to carry on the important work that together we have begun.
When you were sworn in to your second term as the Secretary General, you quoted an ancient philosopher Lao Tzu by saying that the way of heaven is to benefit, not to injure, and the wisdom of a sage is to act, but not to compete. How does that ancient philosophy help you with your current job?
As you know, I have been raised in a Confucius tradition. And I have been taught, and I have learned, and I have been trying to practice. I have learned many such wisdoms from Confucius or Mengzi or many other such sages. That really has been very helpful in my public service as a Secretary General. I try to use as much as I can such wisdom. So when you have to deal with so many different divergent views, it is always necessary to use that kind of wisdom. And I'm very proud myself. I feel proud myself that I have learned much of these teachings of Confucius and Asian philosophers.
历届联合国秘书长都认为，秘书长既不能过于强硬，也不能过于软弱。强硬了会挑战安理会成员国的权威，引起大国不满；而软弱了就会说话没有分量，没有人理睬。而潘基文留给人们的印象是，他标签式的谦恭微笑、温和的身体语言和低调的行事方式。实际上，自他上任伊始，国际舆论，尤其是西方媒体，就没有停止过对他的质疑。认为他缺乏领袖气质，没有魄力，没有决断力。而面对媒体的批评，潘基文回应说，在东亚文化中，谦逊是一种行为方式，但绝不代表没有想象力和决断力。
You seem to be a very amicable person. Were there moments that you lost your temper?
I sometimes lose temper.
You bang the tables and shout over phone.
As a human being, people regard me as a very amicable person, as you say. But when I see something is against the principle which I believe in, which United Nations believes in, then I really raise my voice and pound the table. And sometimes explode myself.
You call yourself an invisible man for the first term. And of course, in Asian cultures, we understand that modesty is regarded as a virtue. But in some other cultures, it may be interpreted as the lack of decisiveness or lack of leadership. So are you going to adapt yourself to different cultures for the second term and make yourself more visible?
There are many ways for a leader or any not necessarily a leader, any person. The way, there are some different ways and approaches.
Yeah.
There are many cases where there's some private dialogue with the world leaders would be more
Effective?
Effective than speaking out publicly by humiliating certain leaders. That does not work. If that is the only one case, you can humiliate your counterpart. But when you have to work constantly with those leaders, trying to correct all these wrong situations, then you have constantly get engaged with these leaders. In such case, quiet diplomacy is more effective. But there are many such cases when I have to speak out, when it comes to very intolerable
Make your
situations.
stand known.
Yes, yes. So I have been mixing these things. But as I said, modesty has nothing to do with the policies. It's just a style. So when it comes to real situations, I have never hesitated in making decisive decisions.
最大的希望就是家乡的雪山能够依然那样的洁白无瑕，江河水流也依然能够那样的清澈无比。
温度能降点，降点。
我有一个幸福美满的家庭和可爱的2个孩子。
我们这一代人不要过度的开采有限的地产资源。
Was quite impressive movies, which were giving us a lot of meanings. A lot of lessons, what we should do in 20 years after.
So what is the future we want? And what are the forces that are changing our future?
We have to work for a young generation who will be the leaders from tomorrow. What kind of a future do we want to leave to our succeeding generation? The world where every woman and man can live with the dignity and free from decent job, free from fear of this water scarcity, food crisis, nutrition, and health. We have to realize a world where women can live without being discriminated. They should be given the full opportunities, social, economic, and political. And this is the world and future which we want to create, we want to realize.
You actually talked about this new thinking and the triple bottom lines of sustainable development. Could you emphasize on this?
We have used our finite resources in the name of development and prosperity. We have consumed all our resources. We have to understand that this planet Earth has limitation. I've been saying that human beings are living on a tipping point. Depending upon how we address this crisis, we may guarantee the continuing prosperity, economic growth to our succeeding generation. Otherwise, we will have to leave all this to our burden to our succeeding generation. This is not right. World leaders should have a clear vision and strong political will to put all of us toward a greater sustainable path.
Facing so many problems in this world, are you sometimes pessimistic? Do you believe in that our world is actually getting better?
Though there are still many problems in this world, basically I'm optimistic. If you are not an optimist, you cannot solve all these problems.
Okay, I got
If
that.
you really want to make something happen, you have to dedicate yourself with a strong sense of hope and optimism. That's what I believe in, and that's what I have been practicing.
You have to believe in this and to make it
right.
come true.
That's right.